Hello, 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 and good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of The Author Speaks. Today we are featuring our fiction author, Ben Chewey, and we have a lot in store. We have a great session time here that we're going to talk to him about his new book. But before we do that, we're going to just let me introduce myself. My name is Renee Smith. I am the CEO and founder of IABX, Independent Authors Book Experience. And this is one of our events where we feature authors here on The Author Speaks. It's an opportunity for authors to share their work, share their upcoming projects, or projects they've just released. And that is what we have Ben Chewey here today. And The Author Speaks is a monthly program that we have, and each month features a different genre. And today we're featuring fiction. Next month, we're just going to do a little PSA. Next month, we're going to do the children's. On June 19th, we'll feature authors in the children's book genre. And on October, we take a break over the summer. In October 16th, we have mystery. November 20th, we have fiction. And in December 18th, we have folklore, fables, myths, and legends. So if you're an author and you write in any of those genres, just come on over to our website, IABX.org, and register to be a part of The Author Speaks. We want to hear your story. We want to hear what you share, what you have to share. So definitely come on over and do that. And then for those of you who don't know, upcoming events, we have our Children's Book Festival that's coming up on June 8th. And that's at Warnaco Sports Center, 1 Park Drive, Roselle, New Jersey, 07203. And that's from 12 p.m. to 3:30. And we're inviting the community to come out. It's a free event. It's just open. We want everyone to come out and show up. And while we're here, we just want to say thank you to a few of our sponsors. We have Independent Authors Publications. We have Staples. We have Spencer Savings Bank. We have Scholastic. We have the Roselle Public School District. We have Sun Raised Fruits. We have the Roselle Public Library. We have Union County Board of Commissioners, Columbia Bank. And we don't want to forget that we're in partnership with the Borough of Roselle. So we just want to say thank you to them. We're going to have a lot of activities for the kids. We have over 40 authors and vendors. We have free books, giveaways, prizes, surprises, supplies, bouncy house, yoga, popcorn, arts and craft giveaways. So you don't want to miss this event. And then later on in the year, we're going to have our 11th annual Independent Authors Book Expo. And this is our premier event. And this we're doing in partnership with Kane University. It's on October 19th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Again, this event is free to the community. And if you're an author and you'd like to register for this event, registration ends on September 30th. Again, visit our website at iabx.org to learn more and to register. So we've done our PSA for today. So without any further ado, we are going to get right into it and bring on with us Mr. Ben Chewey. Hi,
All
Ben.
right. Thanks for having me
How are
today.
you? Yes, welcome to another edition of The Author Speak. So we're just going to get right into it, Ben, because they're here to hear about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your family.
Okay. Well, I'm from Cranford, New Jersey. I was born in Brooklyn, but I moved here when I was 1, so I pretty much just seen my life as mostly Cranford.
Right.
uh, I'm currently working as a substitute teacher in the Cranford school system. I also intern at the local TV 35. I do some voice acting, although I'm in nothing major yet, and
Okay.
other things, and of course writing. I'm definitely trying to pull off the whole author thing.
Yes, but you're not pulling it off. You're doing it, Ben. You're doing it because this book that you're here to feature today is your second book,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. My
Yes.
second book, Blood Oath for the Patriots.
Yes. So
So
tell us a little bit about your book.
yes. Well, the basic story is that Kelly O'Neill is a soldier in the army. She's been fighting the Middle East for over a decade and was such a good sniper. Her teammates called her the Angel of Death. But the war in Afghanistan ended, and she decided she had enough. So she came home to her town of Star Valley in Wyoming to become a gym teacher at her local high school because she wants to try and help people. But as she's settling to her new life, pretty much she realizes that people around her are not as well off as she thought. Primarily her brother. Malcolm
Mhm.
O'Neill has been her older brother, and they've had a bit of a distant relationship because he's the one who wanted to be a soldier because he wanted to be a hero because his grandfather was a noteworthy soldier in World War II, so he wanted to follow in his footsteps. But he broke his leg in a car accident
Oh.
before he could join the army, so his dream was denied, and part of him resented Kelly for living the life he wanted. So
Hmm.
she was away for a while. She didn't really realize how disgruntled her brother's been, but now she's home. She's realizing just how disgruntled Malcolm has become. And
Yeah.
well, I don't want to give it all away, but I'll just say
Yeah.
the depths of her, the extent of her brother's disgruntled and anger and bitterness has made her is going to make her have to make a choice between her family and her country, and
Mm.
which duty she has to put above the other. So
Wow. That sounds like a very interesting book, Ben. I gotta say that storyline there is really gripping, and it lends itself to what's going on right now, with the war and that kind of thing. So I think that would be an interesting read for people um to purchase the books. And we're gonna tell you later on where you can buy the book. And if you're watching and you're on, we just want you to, drop in the chat. Let us know your city and state where you're tuning in from, and here supporting Ben. If you're here to support Ben, say hi. And if you have a question, please also drop it in the chat, and we can ask Ben live right here while you're watching. So, um, one of the things that as a writer, how long did it take you to write this book? And what was the hardest part about writing it?
let's see. It took me about a year to write this book. I wrote it mostly in 2021. So about a year. Well, the first draft at least. Editing took a bit longer, but yeah, it took about a year. Then I reached out to you guys a bit later.
Hmm. And
The
then what
hardest
would
part,
you say was the hardest part?
uh, story wise, I pretty much had it planned out the moment I wrote the first chapter. I guess for me, I wanted to make sure it felt well, maybe not completely authentic because I hope it doesn't happen in real life, but wanted to become a story that people could say like, "Oh wow, I hope that doesn't happen." It sounds a little close to home. People can relate to,
Right,
stuff like
right.
that. And the
So
hardest
we
part for me was the editing. Yeah,
the editing part.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's usually the hard part. Um
yeah,
hard part of a book, because when you come up with the idea and the concept and you put it down, and then you have to start going through and like trimming away things that okay, this should be there, this shouldn't be there. So
yeah,
it's an opportunity to kind of fine tune and hone in on the story a little bit.
yeah.
um okay, and we got a little hi and hello for you. So Janice Kenyatta from Wingate, Pennsylvania, she says welcome, Ben.
Hello, Janice. Hope you're having a good
Thank you,
day.
Janice, for joining. And if Janice, if you have a question for Ben, you can also drop it in the chat and we'll share it here if you have any questions for him. So thank you, Janice, for joining. Um, and so we're in the and this is not your this isn't your first book. This is actually your second book.
Mhm.
So why did you choose to write in this genre? Because you're in the fiction genre. Why did you choose to write in this genre?
Well, let's see. I admit I was kind of inspired by seeing the January 6th riots, and I saw someone I know's response to it, and I'll just say the response made me feel like I had to write about how a character was reacting to find someone responding to a way that they were horrified by. You could say, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah. We
Um,
have times where people are, at odds of events going on, and even friends and family that they thought they knew were, all of a sudden they've become like completely different people and all that. And
mm.
well, the
And
book's not what happened to me. I just, the kind of the shades of it, like the reaction to people, all of a sudden going in a direction you're horrified by.
right.
Like, hopefully
And
someone.
you know, it's I think one of the things too is y- you know, when you they say you don't talk about church and politics,
Yeah,
because religion and politics, because there's so much you get so much emotion when you deal with those two topics. So I can imagine that would be a very incensed conversation, and people, again, people go left and you think they should be going right, or they go right when you think they should be going left. So I can
yeah.
just imagine that conversation. But one of the things that what when people read this book, um, and I should ask you about your first book. What is different about this book that you wrote, as compared to the one your first book? And then what do you want people to take away from after they read this book?
Well, American Tango was a romance primarily, so this is more of a drama slash family drama slash action kind of a thriller kind of story. So definitely different outcome with the tone and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you wanted to take from it. Let's see. I guess. Well, I hope people don't go through exactly what happens in the story because it gets pretty intense. But I guess trying to figure out, you know, reaching out to people that you thought you understood, and then all of a sudden they're completely different in ways that you no longer recognize them, and
Hmm.
figuring out if you reached out sooner, you could have done something, or if it was too late all along, and how do you
Hmm.
come to terms with that,
Yeah.
and how you come to terms with the fact that all this division going on and all that. So hopefully
And
that makes sense.
do you find that you're able to and without giving away too much of the book, do you feel that in the book you're coming to a resolution?
I wouldn't call it a happy resolution, but it's definitely a resolution.
Okay. Well, it's a resolution nonetheless,
Yeah.
happy or otherwise. I mean, you come to a particular point in time.
Mhm.
So let's just delve in a little bit into the process, because you've told us a little bit about the book, but what is your creative process like? How do you
Uh,
come up with the story, or the writing process?
well, I write an outline, I think things through, and then I pretty much just go from chapter to chapter. I like to know what I'm doing before I jump in. I know some authors work better just winging it, but to me, it helps to have a blueprint or a skeleton, so to speak. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes I add things in as I write to the actual chapter, but I guess I don't want to I don't usually get into writer's block because
Oh,
I just plan it out beforehand, and I
right.
mean, editing is a different story, but on the plot wise, I just go from A to Z, I guess.
Okay. And do you, because this book deals with Afghanistan and war and stuff. Did you have to do a lot of research
Hmm.
to put in the book? And
Yeah.
how was that process like? What was that process like?
Well, I'm definitely not a soldier, so I talked to people who had experience with that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
I'll just say that there's not much all the time. All the story is when she's home, so she's not really
Okay.
in a center or anything. But she talks about it because I knew I wasn't. Even if I talked to people, I wouldn't have firsthand experience of that. So I knew it would be not a good
Right.
idea to focus on what I was not my element in. So
Okay.
all the story is told in the presence of
Hmm.
just her mentioning her time in the army. But like I talked to various people about adjusting to being back home or having trouble with family over things and a few other
Right.
things. So try to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I think that's what we all do as authors. You kind of wing it. And that's the whole part of being an author, especially when you're writing about something that you're not 100% familiar with. I always
Mhm.
encourage writers to do the research, do take that time to do the background story. So when someone picks up your book and they read it, it's authentic. Even if you've never been in that position, you talk about her being in Wyoming, returning to Wyoming. You'd have to be, maybe lived in Wyoming or been there a little bit to say, okay, if you turn down this street, something that if someone from Wyoming read the book, they'd be like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know what he's talking about. That kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I think it's important for us to do the research. Take the time to ask around, especially if it's something that you're not familiar with, because it lends such a big credibility to your book and it makes it so much more authentic, you
and I
know.
will say that the soldier part I may not have first-hand experience, but I have been a substitute teacher for many years now. So when she's a teacher, I think I know a bit about what's going on with that stuff.
Yeah, you could pull from your bank, right? A bank of experience.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how to get kids. Because the whole thing's like, well, I may have been a soldier, but now I have to actually keep these people to do things and not have them,
Yeah.
them in one piece and all that. So
That's
background.
that's um and so what when you're writing, where does your inspiration come from as
Mm.
a writer? Where does your inspiration come from for you to write your stories?
Well, each book's different, but I guess a little bit of personal experience, a little bit of stories from from people I talk to, a little bit from other fiction and movies and shows and stuff. Like I was inspired a bit by Breaking Bad,
Mhm.
24, Homeland, and a few other shows.
Okay.
Ideas for the story,
Hmm.
the other things.
Okay. It's funny because I've never watched Breaking Bad. So I'm not really much of a TV watcher.
Uh,
And so I find some of those are popular series I know, but um I've never actually watched them. Oh, we have a question here from Janice. Okay, let me bring this up. Janice says she's asking you a question. She says, any plans to turn your books into movies?
thank
Ah,
you. I would certainly like to turn them into movies. Getting the funding to do that is another question, but hopefully one day that'll be a possibility. I mean,
okay.
I have an idea of who would play the characters in my story. I could see the Adam Driver playing the Malcolm character, as long as it's within the next few years.
Nice, nice.
In my head, at least.
Um, and you know what? I mean, that's a very good question, Janice, because you just talked about movies and series that are similar to what, kind of in the same vein as what he writes in or what you're writing, Ben. So that would be a nice segue from your book to going into a movie or a series. And I know this is a whole nother craft doing screenwriting, because screenwriting is so much different from just, regular writing your story. So that's a good one, Janice. That's good. You probably put in ideas in Ben's head. Like you said, he already has ideas of who the actor is, who he wants to play the part. So he's on to it, Janice. But thank you for asking. Yes. Yes, and
Thank
yes,
you.
screenwriting is definitely different from just writing in general. So, that's a whole nother craft. Um,
The most
awesome.
experience
So,
I have, I'll just say the most experience I've had with screenwriting is I did get a film minor when I went to college, so I had to
oh,
do final project, and so it's definitely
All
a
right.
different kind of thing for that. You have to do more of the
Yes.
actions. So,
So I didn't know that. So just so everybody knows, because Ben is his book is published with Independent Authors Publications, which is my publishing company. My independent authors publishing company is a boutique publishing company. So I have worked with Ben. So it's very good to see Ben transition from one book to two books. And the book is doing well out there. So we're just really happy for Ben and this process. Um, and I wanted to say, who is the intended audience for this book in particular?
hmm. For this book, I would say the intended audience is for people who like family drama stories, who like action stories, and I guess who are seeking a book that covers family being divided over beliefs and
Mhm.
ideas at the times, you could say. Because, I mean, the truth is, it's definitely a time where a lot of that's happening. That's what inspired my book in the first place. And I'll
Yes.
just say some of the what I wrote in my book. I'm like, am I going too far? Is this unrealistic? But then I heard, then you see things like the governor. People try to kidnap a governor. I think a few months ago I saw a son killed his father because of the political beliefs and stuff like that. So it's like,
Oh wow. No, I did
yeah,
not see that. Wow. So you're well, we'll delve into the book. So again, we're not giving too much away. So you really have
yeah,
to buy the book too, and we'll tell you where you can get the book a little bit later. But
yeah,
you you know, there's so much, I want to say, crazy going on right now in the world,
yeah,
so you may not have gone too far. You may just be where you're supposed to be with telling a story that's actually true to life,
yeah,
unfortunately, because there's a lot of angst when it comes to politics and beliefs, you know
yeah,
so that is a little bit tough.
yeah.
um
It's not an easy story, but I feel like we have to at least try and at least tell some of these stories because you don't tell what's important and what are you writing in the first place, I guess, right? It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
at least, yeah,
And it's important to you, and you, like you said, you not directly but indirectly experience something similar, so you're
yeah,
able to talk from even from a certain viewpoint of that experience. So it is very important. And like I said, in terms of getting some form of resolution or bringing something to light, because sometimes people don't really understand how to navigate certain situations and certain issues. So it's very good. You can read it in a book and say, oh, yeah, maybe I would have done this, or I could have done this, or, you know, if whatever the resolution is, it's like, maybe this is a good resolution for me. So it's always good to have that out. Um,
thank you.
and I guess what is for you, just in general, what is the hardest part of writing? What do you think is the hardest part for you in the writing process? Not just for this book, but just in general.
Let's see. Aside from editing, I guess it's writing characters that I try to write, all kinds of characters,
Hmm.
especially in other books, but I guess making them come off as authentic, even if you don't think their way, you know, like for
Hmm.
antagonists, you don't want to, you don't want to be, the crazy people, but you have to at least try and write them to, make sure they come as either believable or engaging. Maybe that's the right word. Like
Yeah.
you hope most people don't act like the Joker or Batman, but you want to write them in a way that the audience will respond to or something like that.
Yeah. And it's good because negative, you either hate them or you love them. I
Yeah,
love those kind of characters. You don't want a character that's kind of lukewarm. You're like, it
yeah,
didn't really impact me. But you want a character like, oh, really? That's when you have a good character, whether it's a bad character or a good character. You read a story, you're like, oh my gosh, I really hate that guy. Or, oh my gosh, I really, really love her. She is so amazing. Like you connect with that person. So,
yeah,
I mean, I can appreciate that, wanting to get that character just right. So,
yeah,
that person can have a response, whether it's, even if it's a negative response, it's still a response because you were able to trigger that with your writing. So
yeah.
yeah.
Slow
um
response is
so
the worst response of all.
Huh?
I just said no response or no reaction is the worst outcome, I guess, of all from that.
Yes. Yes. Um, definitely, definitely. So we're asking for, so do in your writing, because a lot of people are connected with groups and things like that. Do you have a writing group or community of writers that you can share your work with? And if so, who is this group and how have they helped you?
Well, it's not a physical place at the moment, but I have been on like Discord and Skype and other online writers groups where I get feedback from
Hmm.
ideas. Like sometimes of like, hey, how's this sound, or how would this look? And sometimes response is positive, sometimes it's negative. So I don't change it for every negative thing because otherwise I'd. But I for the major things I try and take their feedback in line and
Hmm.
try and get the best outcome.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
internet's helping anyway.
And is there any group, any particular group that you want to give a shout out to and say hi? This a group that you've been to or participated in, or that you'd like to share.
Uh, well, I got a lot of advice from the teachers at the school I sub with. Like I asked them, "Hey, how's this sound for the book?" Like friends of the library and the schools and
Hmm.
the teachers. And so no, I asked her not everything, but I asked her advice for a few things, and they gave it to me. And I guess we'll see how if it worked or not. But it was helpful, and I'm grateful for that.
And those are good, because especially for the audience that you're trying to reach, it's always good to have that feedback from your a trusted friend. Because I always say to people, you know, um, under the IABX umbrella, Independent Authors Book Experience, we have a writers group called the IABX Writers Cafe, and we do virtual meetings, and we do that over Zoom. And one of the things that I tell the writers is, this our space is a safe space. So we are able to share ideas. You're able to give critique and not be, it's not done in a mean way, a mean spirited way. It's there to help you as the author, um, expand your idea or tighten up the idea, so you kind of hone in on the storyline. Because sometimes, as you're writing, you kind of go off on a tangent, and you're like,
Yeah,
wait a second, you kind of missed the story a little bit. So someone reading it will say, why did you have him go into the next town and do something or do whatever activity. And that kind of pulls the story back a little bit. So it's always good to get that feedback, and from a
mhm.
trusted source too, because some people can be a little mean.
Yeah. The internet has a lot of ways to get your feelings hurt, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. I tell people that when you're as a writer, you develop a strong back for criticism. Because between the review process and the editing process, your editor is gonna go. It's like you're in class and you're getting that red line through your your work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cutting. But I always say that it makes, and if you have a good editor, it makes for an even better story.
Mhm.
So you have to just develop a broad back for that. Um, and so for in your writing now, so what what is your motivation? What motivates you to write?
Um, well, I guess I want to express the stories I have in my head, and I want to see people's reaction to them. That's the most basic
Hmm.
rationale, I guess. With American Tango, I
Yeah.
want to express how people were dealing with the current state of the world and coming to terms of it. With this story of Patriots, I want people to come to terms, I guess, or understand how to deal with people that they used to be close to that were divided with over the difference of politics and ideology.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I'm like I'm writing a fantasy series that's I haven't published, but I'm trying to make a thing out because it's like that one covers like what is justice, what is friendship, what is a reliable transforming dragon, but it's hard to explain without explaining the plot. It's
Okay.
different audiences and different ideas, as you could say.
And you kind of preempted me, Ben, because I was just going to ask you, what are you working on now? You kind of just told us a little bit of what you are working on. And it is in a different genre because that is fantasy now, which is, a whole different ball of wax than writing in a fiction. It's still fiction, but it's a little different. Um,
Mhm.
so in this genre, the new book that you're working on, are you finding, how are you creating new worlds and creating characters? Because these are fictional characters. I mean, outside of the protagonist in the Patriots book, how are you creating these new characters in this fantasy book?
So in this story, the so-called, currently called Xylos Chronicles story, I create a whole fictional world full of magic and kind of like Star Wars of both magic and technology. And
Mm,
I looked at what people like George Martin, J.K. Rowling, Tolkien, uh, and stuff like in Dune and all these other successful fantasy series have done, and I try to see what's still hopefully at least somewhat new, and try and create characters that are resonate with people, but also can stand on their own pretty much. That's a tricky
right.
thing. There's so many different kinds of stories created these days that you have to figure out
Yeah.
how to stand out. And because not just the characters, but in a fictional setting, they
Hmm.
want to create a world that's people are like, oh, that guy just did Star Wars with gray paint and stuff like that. Or,
Yeah, it can be similar, but it has to be different.
yeah, like
Yeah.
for this story, it's like the short version is it's a cross of Batman and Star Wars because he quickly dons an alter ego to fight in the shadows, but it's
Mm.
also a fantastical world of advanced machinery, techno-organic transforming dragons,
Ooh.
uh, fictional electronic sports inspired by something like the Tron movie, and a few other things. So
Okay.
that's the one I want to make to be like the next big. Ideally, it'd be the next big like Harry Potter / Star Wars kind of thing. But I've been a lot more in depth with that because I want to make that successfully be. That's the one I really want to see. Be not just a movie, but a video game one day and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So Janice, you don't even, he's already looking from movies to video games. He's already transforming. So he has two things working on right now. And that's
Yeah.
good because, sometimes when you have like an end game in mind for your book or your story, it really helps because it crafts the way you write it. And so that when someone sees it, they can actually see it as what your intent is. So for you to already have that in your head that, hey, I would like for this to be a video game, it's a good idea. You're already on that path. um yeah, that's interesting. You're just bringing out a couple of things that you always think about books and movies, but you never think about in series. But I've never thought about really a video game, so that's a whole different idea for that. Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
um So for you, because now you're I would say you're an experienced writer.
Mhm.
Um, what advice would you give to an aspiring author?
For me, I would say definitely plan it. If you can just think on the fly, that's good. But I'd say you'd probably be good to make sure you know what's going on, so you don't avoid a Game of Thrones situation where we're waiting 10 years for to figure out how to get out of the where he wrote things.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's like roadblocks are not fun, but also on the other side of things, know your audience, know who would like the characters and plot, and know who would not like this, so you're not barking up the wrong tree, so to speak. Uh, and I say if you're not good at editing like I am, make sure you know people who can, because you definitely, if you know your weaknesses, know who can cover those weaknesses, and so you can avoid
Yes.
pitfalls, to say the least.
Yes. So get a good editor, and those are all good. Those are all good, great advice, actually. You know,
Mhm.
um, the first thing Ben said was plan your work, create an outline. This will alleviate the roadblocks or the writer's block, because
Mhm.
that is such a real thing. And I think sometimes you when you have writer's block, you're like, okay, where's my story going? But if you have an outline, it definitely helps you to say, okay, we're here. The next step, you're gonna get the seeds, till the ground, plant the seed, water the ground. You kind of have a sequence of events that are going to happen to get you to your end goal, which is the end of the book or the end of the story. So plan your work, create an outline, and good, know your audience. Very good for writing your book. Um, you know, it's always important to know your audience. Who are you trying to sell your book to? Who do you want to buy your book? So that's a good one. And get a good editor.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how important that is, because one, yes, if you are not, you write your story, you're right. Some people are good at self-editing, but even for myself, because I'm a writer, I'm an author, I'm a children's book author. But what I find sometimes is that you don't see your mistakes because you're just typing. You're just writing away, and you get the story out of your head, and you could read it 10 times and still miss, just a little I'd say mistakes or a conflict in your story because you wrote it.
It's
But
like I say, wait a minute, that was a Walgreens, not a Walmart.
yeah,
Put it back.
and
Well,
you kind of and sometimes you start off with one name and you end up with another name at the end. You're like, who is that at the end? I thought you were talking about Jim, now you're talking about Tom. And it's the same character, but sometimes you cross the names in the story and you may miss it. So having a good editor is a great way to keep your story in check and to keep your story going, um, for you as an author. um, I want to ask you, as far as um, in terms of your writing, because are there, for what you're doing now, do you find that you need, is there any particular skill that you have now that you think has been very helpful for you in your writing process?
I mean, I guess I took writing classes in college and literature and all that to know the basics. I also went to took film classes to get the visual idea.
Mm-hmm.
What's exciting for people. History to get a history courses. I was a history major in college, so it gave me an idea of why history matters for setting the backstory and the background and all that. What
Right.
people are rooted in their beliefs and ideas and all that. So that's all helps. I
Right.
guess the Boy Scouts helped give me a sense of adventure and helping out and improvisation. So a little of that.
Okay. So you're essentially pulling from a lot of different places to um to really pull in. And I think as a writer, we all, no matter what genre we're writing, there's some aspects of our life that we put in our stories, whether it's um our own experience or someone else's experience. We kind of include that in our story. um I see Janice here was responding to one of our comments there. It's about the points that we made, that they're good points. Yes, Janice, it's, those are all good points that Ben raised as to, advice to an up and coming writer who wants to be published. Because when you write your first book, Ben is a second time author. He's a second time published author. And when you have a first book out, it's always for people to come back to the second book. They're like, oh, you know I saw his work before, and they're looking for your new book. So it's important to for them to be able to say, yeah, he's a good writer. I like his stories. Even if it's in a different genre altogether, they'll say, no, I'm going to check it out just because you're a good writer. You know, you had a good book before. Um, and Janice, I know, you're a writer? What books do you write? And if you do, can you share that with us, or share that with the audience? And we're kind of winding down now, but I wanted to ask Ben. This is something that I always ask my writers. Um, what do you use? Do you use pen and paper or the computer
Oh, my
to
handwriting,
write?
I have to use the computer. I use Microsoft Word to write the words. It's worked so
Mhm.
far, I guess. And,
Oh, you just use so you use the computer.
yeah, my
Okay.
handwriting's
And
pretty bad.
huh?
My handwriting's pretty bad. It would be pretty hard to make a book.
Maybe you'll finish your get to like the first chapter. You're like, I don't know what I just wrote, but it was good.
Yeah.
I'm a pen and paper person. So I usually start with the pen and paper because I find it's easier for me to get my thoughts out. And then once I've gotten the story down, then I go to the computer, because I like to self edit on the computer because I find that it's easier for me to do it there. Um, but one thing I have found, and someone introduced it, an author told me about this, and I've tried it, is Google, the Google Docs, talk to text. Have you ever tried
Uh,
that?
Not yet. I'm trying to resist the AI takeover, but
No, 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 it's not. Well, that's a whole nother story. But what it is you have and I do it on my phone. So I have my Google Drive open up so I can
yeah.
talk into my phone and it writes it for me. So I
Well,
can
that
just
is
talk about
pretty
my
cool.
ideas. Yeah. So, sometimes I find that, depending on where I am, like I just want to get the idea out of my head and I'm not in a
Yeah.
place where I can write it down. So I use the talk to text and I'll just talk it into the phone. But the first, what you must do, is very soon when you get a chance, is to go and edit, because sometimes the talk to text doesn't go as clearly as you would like. So
Uh,
sometimes it's, some of the words don't compute the way you should. And for me especially, I'm from Jamaica, so I have a slight accent. I find I didn't really, so when I talk, sometimes some of the words don't translate well. So for me, I go back after and do the edit, and I think that's helpful. So um, Janice said, I co-wrote a nonfiction book and wrote my own children's book.
Very cool.
Congratulations, Janice! Congratulations.
Hope it's doing well.
That's a great accomplishment, and we want to. I think Janice is going to be one of the authors, if I'm not mistaken, right, Janice? Are you going to be at the Children's Book Festival? Um, and if you are, make sure you say hi. I think Ben has been to a few of our book expos, right, Ben?
Yeah,
So,
I'll be at the one later in the year. This probably not a good idea for mine to be at the children's one, but
well, so the Children's Book Festival on June 8th is a children's and young adult. So we are looking, it's there, we have some young adult authors there, and they will, so we're looking to capture from babies, young children, 5 up to 18. So if you think your book is in that space, definitely you check it out. But we have, oh, and she'll be on our spotlight for next month. So yes, we can't
nice.
wait to see you, Janice, and meet you and see your books. We're very excited to have you, and thank you for joining the program today. This is an opportunity to share your work, and we have Ben online here, so we're just happy to have you, and all the way from Pennsylvania. So thank you for joining in, Janice. And then before we get out of here, we want to ask Ben, where can we find your books?
So far, it's on Amazon, and actually, that's pretty much where it is at the moment. I have a few physical copies, but yeah, I think it's pretty much just Amazon at the moment, both physical and on the Kindle.
Yes, and It'll pretty soon it'll be on. So tell them also on your social media, and if they want to contact you on email.
Yeah. I have a Facebook author page precisely for book related stuff. And I have email and trying to figure out a few other things, the best way to branch out. Marketing is a tricky thing to tackle, but slowly but surely.
Yeah, and one of the things is because, and that is a really good point, and that's one of the reasons that IABX, that's what we try to do using these different platforms, is giving authors an opportunity to share their work and to help them market. And we're hoping that it's an opportunity that someone else will tune in and see this broadcast, and they will reach out, they'll try to find your book. And we'll just want to put that up again. It's Blood Oath of the Patriots, and it's by Ben Chewey. He's also on Facebook. He's Ben Chewey, Benchewey. And if you want to reach out to him on email, if you want to talk to him, invite him to talk about his book. He's at PIEDMON at earthlink.net. So those are opportunities for you to reach out to Ben and just talk to him. And Janice says, best wishes for the promotion and market of your book, Ben.
Thank you,
So,
Janice. Best luck. Best of luck
yes.
with your books as well.
Thank you. Thank you. That is, marketing is a beast. And this is why we really created this organization, to give authors an opportunity to share their work, because, sometimes you, as an author, you spend a lot of time focusing on writing your book, getting it edited, getting it published. But then there's that huge other part of it, is the promotion and the marketing. And IABX, that's one of the things that we try to do. We host a children's book festival for the children's book author, the young adult authors, and we have our book expo. And to this year, it'll be October 19th at Kane University. And we have people coming from all over to participate, not just the authors, because last year we are international now. We have authors last year from Canada, but we have authors coming from all across the United States, and we have um, attendees also across the United States coming in, local and national. So we're here to really spread the word for the author and make sure that we can get you in as many venues as possible. And Author Speaks is one of our platforms. In previous years, we've had the Author Speaks um, in person at our local library. But with the onset of COVID, we had to go virtual. But it has been very helpful for a lot of authors who wanted to use this platform, because we've had authors from Virginia, Pennsylvania, all across the US who have been able to participate. So we want to say thank you to Ben for being a part of our show today, and just coming to share his book. And Ben, just tell them one more time about your book and where they can find you.
Yes, it's Blood Oath of the Patriots, thriller slash action story that's so far on Amazon. Hopefully more places in the future. Hope you like it.
And tell them your handles on social media.
Oh, I'm on Facebook. I have an author page, and hopefully more to come. I was thinking about TikTok, but it might not be a TikTok in a few months, so good to wait on. See what happens with
Okay.
that.
And if you are IABX, we are on social media, so you can check us out. We are on Facebook at IABX Author, and we're also on Facebook and Instagram. So check us out, like our page. We're so excited to, if you like our page, we'll definitely like you back. We'll follow, like and follow, because we think it's important to support each other. We support each other as authors or business owners. So we want to make sure that we're supporting you. So make sure you go out and like, go and follow Ben on Facebook, and say, hey, Ben, I heard about you on the IABX Author Speaks, because we want him to know that you heard about him here. Okay. So we just want to thank everyone for joining in. And we want to just do a little bit more PSA before we go. Last but not least, we have our Children's Book Festival coming up on June 8th. and that's going to be at Warnaco Sports Center at One Park Drive in Roselle, New Jersey. And that's from 12 p.m. to 3:30. We were going to have a lot of activities for the kids. We have bouncy house, author readings, yoga, arts and craft, book giveaways, school supplies giveaways. It's going to be there. Bring the children and come and have a day of fun. They're going to have walk away with a book. So please bring them out and tell a friend, invite a friend to join. And then last but not least, we're going to have our 11th annual Independent Authors Book Expo, October 19th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Kane University at Downs Hall, Union, New Jersey. And again, this is another free event to the community. So we want to just say, before you go, Ben, do you want to say one last thing to our audience before you get out of here?
To all people who want to be a writer one day, just hold on to your dream and just figure out a backup plan, because you might need that. But hold on to it and don't give up. And one day, hopefully, it'll come true.
That's a great, great final words. Yes, you know, we can't all be J.K. Rowling's, and even she had a rough start. So until you get there, have a backup plan. But believe in your work, believe in what it is that you want to do as a writer, and don't give up. I'm the author of the Freddy series. I'll just put my thing up here. I'm the author of the Freddy series. If you want to follow me, I'm on Author Renee on Facebook and Instagram, and my website is reneesmith.com. And one of my books, in my book, The Freddy's First Race, the mantra is work hard, stay focused, never give up, and you can achieve your dreams. And right now, Ben Chewey is living out his dream as a two-time or published author of American Tango and Blood Oaths of the Patriots. So we want to say congratulations, Ben. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you stopping by and sharing a few words about your new project and also your upcoming project. We're excited to hear about your fantasy book coming up.
Stories planned. There's another one about a guy who can only get a job at Bermuda Triangle and gets a cruise, and there's a murder mystery. And I'm more in the outline phase of that, but it's got a murder mystery one too. So that's
okay.
A bit of
so you heard it here first. Right? You heard it here first from Ben Chewey. So he has 2 books in the works. So he's going to have to come back on and tell us about those new books coming up when they're published. Right, Ben?
Sounds like a plan.
Yes, yes. Sounds like a plan. So we want to say thank you again for being here. And we want to just say sayonara. We hope to see you all soon at one of our events right here in Union County. And if you want to check us out, if you want to join and be a part of our program or learn more about this organization, Independent Authors Book Experience, please visit our website at IABX.org. Thank you for joining us. And this has been another edition of the Author Speaks. And if you want to be a part of our upcoming Author Speaks, the next edition is June 19th, and we're going to feature children's book authors. We have 1 spot remaining there. And on October 16th, we have mystery genre. We also have 1 spot there. And November, we have fiction. And December, we have folklore, fables, myths, and legends. So if you want to be a participant in any of those Author Speaks, visit our website at IABX.org. All right, everybody, we've done all our PSAs. Thank you again, Ben, for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And we hope to see you soon.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Take care, Ben. Thank you.